What's going on, guys? This is Ashlee Keyton. I have 10 questions for atheists.
Questions, so many questions.
Hey everyone, JL here, and welcome back to Bridge the Divide, where I examine irrational beliefs, the irrational behaviors that follow, and how we, with education, rationality, and reason, can bridge the societal divides that they create. In my last video, I addressed Eddie from the Jesus Renaissance and his 4 questions for atheists. And in that video, I was able to expose the ignorance and dishonesty that lay behind Eddie's questions. So I figured, since I'm on such a roll, I'd address another round of Christian inquiry. And before we get into it, I promise this one will not be in my usual amazing but long-winded style. So today I bring you the Pentecostal, tongues not snakes, Christian Ashlee Keyton. Keyton is a content creator who not only uses YouTube to spread his version of the gospel, but he's also anti-LGBTQ, an anti-vaxxer, a wild conspiracy theorist, and apparently a music artist?
Do you feel it burn? Yeah, you eat in your soul. Oh, your body's weak, but the spirit is so strong.
Cool.
So in between spreading his message and delivering fire beats to the internet, Diet Usher here made a video where he presents 10 questions for atheists in 2022. Let's dive in.
First question. Does objective evil exist?
No, objective good or evil are not things that exist. Objective morality is not a thing that exists. Regardless if a God exists or not, morality is either subjective to it or subjective to us. See the Euthyphro dilemma for further details.
Number 2. Can you define objective evil for me?
Yes, objective evil would be that which runs counter to the collective well-being of the populace regardless of the influence or desires of any particular agent. And if God existed, that standard would also include God.
Number 3, and this one's my favorite. Have you ever honestly tried Jesus? He's alright.
Yes, as a matter of fact, but we had to break things off. It wasn't me, it was him. Because he doesn't exist. But all joking aside, recognizing that having to believe in God first before one could find him was no different than confirmation bias was one of the bigger steps on my path to deconversion.
Number 4. What would be, in your view, a better explanation for how the world came to be about? The Big Bang? Or God? What makes the most sense? Logically, consistently, theoretically, cosmologically?
First, representing the Big Bang like an explosion is dishonest. It wasn't an explosion, it was an expansion event. Take a cosmology course. Second, to answer your question, the Big Bang cosmological model makes more sense. Logically, because there's no contradiction in the model. Consistently, because we can use the model to make predictions about reality, which then come true, thus verifying the model. Theoretically, because a theory is the highest level of understanding of any particular phenomena. Speaking of which, you should really stop using the term theory when you're trying to dishonestly imply hypothesis. And cosmologically, because cosmology, the science dedicated to understanding the cosmos, provides a mechanistic explanation for the origins of the observable universe, something your God sadly does not.
Number 5, is believing in God an inconsistent view, or do you just not like it?
Yes, to both actually. 1, because the Christian God concept is inconsistent with logic and reality, and 2, because when people hold worldviews that are inconsistent with logic and reality, it often drives them to behaviors that are illogical and irrational to justify holding that worldview. I honestly don't care what people believe, but I do care when those people think that their beliefs give them the right to infringe upon the freedoms of others? Well, we're officially halfway through Keyton's questions. I'll be right back to cover the rest after a quick word from our sponsor.
Dr. Peel Crunch. Are your kids tired of boring cereal? Are you feeding them stuff like this? Ugh, look at it. It's got berries in it and shit. Well, pour them a bowl of Dr. Peel Crunch. What's the secret? Bananas, bitch! Even moms love bananas. Oh, God, they really love it. Oh, okay. It's getting creepy now. Dr. Peel Crunch, available in stores for parents who don't love their kids. If you don't enjoy them, then
You have lost your mind! Wow, that makes me feel hungry and like I need to register myself with a state agency. Let's get back to the video.
Number 6, do all humans understand morality the same way? And some just choose to act against that good morality?
No, morality is subjective not only to the person, but also to the group, the society, the nation, and the world. This is why finding and establishing a moral middle ground that everyone can agree on is so incredibly difficult. As for immoral action, people tend to act against the collective well-being out of fear and desperation. And they can generally justify that immoral action because they have tied that action into their own survival, allowing them to expend the collective well-being of others in favor of themselves or their own personal group. And this can occur because moral valuations are also subjective.
And number 7, how can we know who is right? How can we possibly know who has the correct answer?
In the context of these questions, it all comes down to evidence and intellectual honesty. And if we're intellectually honest concerning the evidence and the claims we make based on that evidence, we can determine who is right and who is wrong. And novel testable predictions play a huge role in determining who has the correct answer.
Number 8, and I know the answer to this question, but I want to know your answer. Does the Bible speak for every person who calls themselves a Christian? Let me explain. You have certain people that act ungodly, in my view, and do some things that I would say God never told them to do. That say they're Christian, that believe in the Bible. There was actually something brought up the last time I did 10 Questions for Atheists, and someone responded, and they said that a lot of Christians worked with Hitler and a lot of Catholics and those are not Christians. But that's my view. What would you say? Let me calm down. Does the Bible speak for every single Christian? Does every Christian represent the Bible?
The answer here depends upon your position. From within Christianity, no. But outside of Christianity, yes. And that's because the Christian faith is so open to interpretation that its application in the world can vary widely. But for a Christian to claim that it doesn't is just the no true Scotsman fallacy. And that's because Christians are not able to demonstrate who is interpreting the Bible incorrectly without first demonstrating how their interpretation is the correct one overall.
9. Is murder against the innocent wrong? And why?
From the secular perspective, yes, murdering the innocent is wrong. And it's wrong for 2 reasons. 1, because the evidence shows that the persistent murder of innocents in a society has disastrous consequences for the social order. And 2, because the majority of the global society has agreed upon what exactly entails murder, what exactly entails innocent, and that to get the best outcome in any situation, we need to follow the evidence. And these subjectively agreed upon standards are upheld by our legal system in order to ensure the continuation of the social order. However, while the Christian faith would at first agree that the murder of an innocent is wrong, there exists one caveat in the faith. And that is, if a person truly believed that God was commanding them to murder someone, regardless of their innocence, because the order came directly from God, the action would be good. In our secular system, there is no such consideration, which makes our secular system inherently more moral than the Christian one.
Number 10, what is your confirmation and foundation for truth?
So this question is a little bit of an aggravation, and that's because when theists ask it of atheists, they ask it because they think it's some kind of a big gotcha. Theists ground truth in the existence of God. In their minds, it's a very simple concept. God is defined as having created everything and being all truth-revealing by nature. So everything that is true in reality is true because God created it and revealed it to be true. On its face, it's completely fallacious, due in part to its circularity. But it works to Christianity's advantage, providing an emotionally satisfying answer while simultaneously ending the need for any further inquiry. However, back in reality, this question is fairly difficult for most atheists to answer, and that's because it dives into a number of complex philosophical concepts. Ultimately, the answer pertains to the philosophy of truth, and each person must study that and answer it for themselves. I've provided a link to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy's entry on truth down in the description for your own review. But to answer the question, I myself adhere to the correspondence theory of truth, meaning that which is true corresponds with reality. And I pillar that theory upon the coherence and pragmatic theories of truth and the principles of verification. Meaning that truth is supported by that which is consistent in relation to other things, that it requires constant inquiry and the persistent development of theories to explain phenomena. In lay terms, I accept that we as a species can only get so close to absolute truth, and that our efforts bring us closer to that absolute truth every day. And while I may not ever live to see us attain it, I am perfectly content with us constantly working towards it. And that's because real meaning comes not in living for the end of the journey, but in living for the journey itself. And that will conclude our look at Ashlee Keyton's 10 Questions for Atheists. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. A massive shout out to YouTuber McKinnon Mitchell for the brilliant ad he created and letting me use it in this video. A link to his channel is in the description. Don't forget, June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. A link on how you can support efforts against this terrifying disease is in the description below. Oh, and if you love scary movies, be sure to check out me and my filmmaker friends over at the Week in Horror podcast, now in our 3rd season. Everything you need to become a channel member here, grab yourself some official Bridge the Divide swag, or support the podcast is in the description below. Once again, thank you all so much for your continued support. And as always, be safe, be excellent to each other, and together we can bridge the divide.